Dating apps aren't designed for depth. They're designed for speed. Because of course they can't be designed for depth. You're basically just looking at a picture, barely reading anything, and swiping right or left or whatever, right? And so women are doing this as well. So they get a lot of matches, or a lot of people coming up on their screen. They're swiping left and right based upon kind of nothing. You don't get to know anybody, and even if you were to read somebody's profile, and even if that profile were accurate, it's still just a little written profile and a couple of pictures, still pictures. It's nothing. So here's so the main things that apps reward, things like instant gratification. You look on there and like, ooh, here's all these beautiful women. It's almost like a centerfold fix where you're looking at these attractive women and thinking, I got a shot with all of them. And you get that little dopamine rush, like, oh, I'm going to swipe right because I'm sure I'm going to get her or whatever. And it's for short attention spans. Literally, you just, and then you exhaust all of those. You go on to the next app, right? It's these little dopamine bursts for short attention spans. And it's sort of this emotional quickness that happens. There's no depth. It's not designed for depth. And the problem is successful men who often happen to be introverts, but successful introverted men, often feel things like that just takes longer to open up. So if you're like that, if you're introverted and you just know it takes longer for you to open up, how well can these apps possibly work for you? Right? Because you have to portray yourself in this way that's a visual way, maybe in a few words or whatever, that apparently captures something unique about you, that's fascinating about you, but you're introverted. Maybe there aren't a lot of like overtly extroverted, fascinating things about you. And then maybe you feel that you connect more deeply over time, so that it takes you a little while to warm up, and then you kind of keep things closer to the breast, and you don't really reveal things right away. So you might appear boring, or might appear that you have nothing to say, or it might appear that you have no depth because you don't just bleh out everything on the first date or whatever. And then also, introverted men tend to dislike self-promotion. It's just generally not something that if you're introverted you like to do. You don't want to put yourself out there. You're sort of protecting yourself. Introverted men tend to protect their bodies more, meaning they're less comfortable showing their bodies, wearing revealing clothes like V-neck shirts, or opening the buttons all the way down or whatever. They just tend to not do some of these things because they're not as comfortable with their own bodies. They don't want to, they're keeping things in, right? They're introverted. So what happens then? Many times men, maybe even more specifically introverted men, but men in general, start believing certain things to be true, like, I'm not attractive. Because if you're swiping right a million times, and let's say it's a couple of hundred times, and you get two matches, three matches, whatever, and maybe they blow you off, whatever, they ghost you, you might start thinking, I'm just not attractive. I must not be attractive in some way. Women must not like me, right? Women don't want a guy like me. And you don't know the reason why, but you're probably your unconscious self-talk, inner voice is telling you these things. Like, oh, it's because you're whatever. Whatever your hangups are about you, your unconscious voice is telling you these things. Oh, it's because I'm whatever, right? You're probably thinking about it right now. So really, the actual issue is the environment, meaning the apps, everything around the app environment. It's like social media itself, where social media sort of revolves around controversy, anger, uh, disagreements, right? That's what really blows things up, is separation and making things controversial, and making things uh, on topics you could debate. Not coming together and agreeing generally doesn't do that. So it's the environment, but it's not your value, because obviously you're more than photographs. Obviously more than what you could ever possibly write in any of these profiles. So what happens is, Many men, many users on these apps eventually face burnout or lower self-esteem because it seems like no women like you. No women find you attractive. There's nobody out there. And then emotional fatigue. You've just had it. And in this day and age, you may be thinking, well, if I can't find a great woman or any woman through these apps, then there must be no one for me. Because where else do you do it? Nobody goes to the bars anymore or whatever. Where else do you do this these days? You don't want to do it at the office because you don't want to, take a chance on that going wrong or sexual harassment or something. So where do you go, right? So many men, to me, and I see this online as well, are expressing things like, I barely get matches, right? Hundreds of times and like nothing. Or conversations die instantly. So finally you get a match. You're texting a little bit, and then she just disappears. She's probably gotten, 50 or 100 more matches, and it's like, oh, and it's not anything about you. You think it's something about you, but it's just that she get distracted by life or by these 50 other matches that may be just like you or maybe, quote, worse than you in some, made up way. And then they're saying things like it feels impossible to compete. Yes, if women are only looking for men who are over 6 feet and making 100K plus, then it's impossible to compete because that's only like 2.5% of the population. For just those two things, you start adding any other, checklists, any boxes to check, then it's even less than that. And then another thing is, I hate trying to market myself. Again, it's the idea of self-promotion. Just it's generally not something that introverted men are doing, or certainly that's something that doesn't come naturally for them. Uh, what happens is the apps may be amplifying your insecurity, uh, but what they don't do is create self-worth, right? There's just a whole other approach to dating once you understand attraction, what real attraction is on a much deeper basis. When you understand how to embrace who you truly are, your authentic self, and how best to communicate that with women, both on and off apps, more deeply. That's what I help men with. I will see you on the next video.